and WCCSradio.com. Good morning to you. When we are on the line this morning with an interesting gentleman, a guy by the name of Joe Frodsham. Joe is an expert on company culture and the president of CMP, a firm that believes there is a science to creating great companies through strategic recruiting and leadership development, which is a really fascinating position. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Joe, good morning.
Good morning. Good to hear you.
It's good to have you with us here this morning as we talk about an interesting topic to me anyway, and that is when people of a certain age, middle age, and even older workers than that, when they find themselves suddenly out there looking for a job. They've lost their job, and here they are. They're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, and when they should be thinking about building up that nest egg for retirement, instead they're thinking, well, how do I survive now? It is a different dynamic, isn't it, for an older worker as opposed to a younger worker when it comes to finding a new job?
It is different, but it's doable. It's funny. As a firm, we help 2,000 to 3,000 people in career transition every year with different companies we work with. And what we found is it's all too typical. In fact, it's disproportionately more probable that somebody in their 40s and 50s will be laid off than somebody in their 20s and 30s. So it's very, very common. Happens all the time.
Yeah, but certainly it's distressing to anybody who loses a job, no matter what age they happen to be. And it comes with certain challenges when you are a worker in that age range. So let's talk about some of the strategies for someone moving forward from that point. I would guess the first one is, do I want to be a full-time worker anymore?
That's exactly right. Really good insight. What we found is, first of all, it is very traumatic. It's up there with divorce and death of a family member, a loved one, as far as the level of trauma it has. And it also has an impact on your spouse, your family, those that are around you, that love you, and it's core to your identity. I mean, it shatters your identity. We've assessed people, and we run them through assessments when they're laid off or impacted by a job loss. And their sense of self-esteem, self-efficacy, sense of well-being is affected negatively almost consistently. Now, when you're older, it is more probable you'll get laid off, so that happens all the time, but it's especially challenging. But what we always say is for a few things. There's got to be a strategy. One is take a beat. Don't just jump in and try to find a new job 24 hours later. You need to really step back, evaluate, make sure that emotionally you're in a good place. And that you're not operating out of fear and desperation, because that never works, doesn't help, sends out a really bad brand. So that's the first thing. Second, understand how long you can go financially. Can you go 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years? Mm-hmm. If you take money out of your 401k, adjust things, how long can you go, and how quickly do you, quote, need a job? And then third, you already said it. What we found is it's typical for companies to not necessarily want to employ you in a full-time job. It's the whole idea of let's date before we get married. Maybe we try a contract assignment, we try an interim assignment. Let's do something for 90 days and a fractional type of role. That's much more common now with more experienced workers, which is let's work together a bit and see if we like each other. And so those people, in 40s and 50s who are in job loss, they got to be open-minded about the different types of roles and arrangements as they look through their next.
All right, so all of that being the case, we obviously have to find these people some comfortable place as to where they're going with their lives. Joe, 1 or 2 points about moving forward where these folks can find a place that's not only going to be good for them, but good for their family, because, as you said, the family stresses are tremendous.
Oh, it's absolutely. And they got to talk with their family about it. And a lot of times it's more difficult for the spouse or the kids or whoever's, kind of reliant on them, because they're trying to drive the boat from the water skis. They have even less control as far as when the employment happened, where it will happen, etc. So one is you got to treat it like a job. Finding a job is like a job. It's 8 hours a day, and it's pulling all the different levers, applying online, connecting with your network, reaching out to people you've worked with in the past. It's all of that. There's some great resources out there, but it's doing that and treating it like a job. And stepping forward, moving into it, even if you're depressed, you've got to get up and keep moving. Otherwise, it will just kind of be a negative cycle and going down and down and down. Third, I'd say you really need to talk to somebody. Whether it's us or whoever it is, somebody who really helps in career transition. It's there's people like our firm where you have an individual who can not only help you think through your strategy, getting the right resume, making sure your resume is SEO optimized, and doing a lot of things so that you're recognized and out there, but really thinking through the strategy of finding your next job and, getting you kind of thinking positively, because the one thing you've got to understand when you're at that age bracket is there is work out there. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but you can't stop. You got to start kind of moving forward and getting after it.
Yeah, and then there's the dream job aspect of it as well. A lot of people work jobs for their entire lives, and they weren't the job they dreamed of when they were a kid. And maybe now is the time for them to consider pursuing that. Someone who's worked in an office all their life, maybe their entire life they've been thinking, I'd like to be somebody who, tends greens at a golf course, or somebody who works in a downtown street environment, maybe a school crossing guard, things of that nature, school bus driver. All of those things are out there for them, and if it's something that they've always thought, I think I'd like to try that, now's the time.
Oh, absolutely. This is an opportunity to do what you really want to do, and when they can reframe the job loss as an opportunity to really do what they love and would enjoy, it can be really exhilarating and fun and engaging, not only for them, but those around them. And we always encourage and try to get them to kind of dream again, right? What is it that you love? What did you enjoy about your role? What didn't you enjoy about your role? What would be that perfect next role? And let's go get it. Let's position your resume and your cover letter and your job search so that you really can land something that's much more perfect for you now that you have all this self-awareness at 45 or 55 that you didn't have at 25. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
Hey, Joe, let's think about those workers that we've been discussing here this morning. In the moments when they might believe that all of a sudden, this job that I've been working for the last 20 years or so doesn't seem so stable anymore. They still have the job, but they can see a direction that their company is taking or maybe sense something with their job that it doesn't seem to them that it's as a comfortable a situation as it could be. That has to be really distressing too, but at the same time, they have to be thinking, what can I do to make sure that I'm as valuable as I can be to this company, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think there's two things that we always encourage people to do. One is understand it's not enough to just do a good job. I wish that was true. It's necessary to do great work and work hard, but it's not sufficient. You really do have to think about the organization, understand who the key stakeholders are, and build the relationships necessary to navigate your organization proactively. And two, you always need to hedge your bets. You need to always have your resume updated and periodically go out to the market. It's okay to do that, right? Go out and see what's available. Take that call from that recruiter. Send that resume into something that looks pretty interesting. Now, make sure that you're actively networking and maintaining your network outside the organization. And so if something does happen or something does pop up that is kind of that better job, be ready to take it, It is a free market for a reason. And so I think both of those really need to happen. Build the relationships to navigate your organization inside and make sure that you're actively keeping your resume and your network up to date and active outside the workplace. If you do that, you usually shore yourself up.
Yeah. Of course, that's not the easiest thing in the world to convince yourself of. Well, while you're working, you have a job, and you think, okay, something happens, then I'll think about it. Now I don't want to. We understand that as well.
That's right. And inevitably, most people don't actively maintain their own network and kind of navigate inside and outside the organization through relationship building. And then when they need it, they're a little bit scrambling at the time. But I'd encourage you to do that. Real intelligence and opportunities comes from your network, inside and outside the organization. And people who are, consistently successful in the organization, we found in our own research, are those that really spend 2 to 4 hours a week really building new and entrenching in current relationships that are really valuable to them and others. So that navigation piece, that career navigation, not just doing your job, as important as that is radically important.
Joe, tell me about CMP.
Well, we've been around for 23 years. We're the largest minority and woman-owned firm in the nation that supports a full talent life cycle. We help career transition, development, leadership development, and executive search. So companies use us to hire, fire, and improve performance. And the biggest part of it is helping in career transition. We help 2,000 to 4,000 people a year who have been laid off and need to find their next. So if you want to reach out to us, we're at careermp.com. That's careermp.com.
Beautiful. Hey, Joe, thanks for spending some time with us today here on Indiana in the Morning. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Have a great one.
You too. We'll see you. There's Joe Frodsham with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning, and it's 8:56, 3.5 minutes away from the top of the hour.